too-short courtship. Marley was only 5, a gawky little thing with moppet eyes and a lisp. After an initial and entirely natural period of wariness, she'd accepted me as an understudy for the role of Mom. But now I wasn't even in the running for the part. Don't call us, we'll call you. Lately it seemed she blamed me for everything, from the federal deficit to our present situation. Oh yes, if it hadn't been for me, Marley Rose Wagner would be living the perfect life. I want to go to Reno and move in with Mom, Marley said. I bit my lower lip and refrained from pointing out the obvious flaws in that fantasy. Brenda/Bambi had abandoned Marley when she was 2. Craig had come home to find his daughter wailing in a playpen in their apartment, wearing a soggy diaper and waving a long empty bottle. Brenda hadn't been back since, and except for the odd email, phone call, birthday card, or box of Christmas candy, she never initiated any sort of contact. Emotionally, I was on the ragged edge. Once I'd been so sure of myself, singing all the time and indulging in one of my favorite hobbies, trying new recipes. Converting standard comfort foods to low-fat, low-calorie versions, much to the delight of my friends, who were all busy career women on diets. Where had those friends gone? Where had the joy gone? When had I stopped singing? You know you can't go to Reno, I said, bringing myself firmly back into the present moment, difficult as it was, and with hard-won moderation. It would have been easier to point out that Bambi wasn't exactly in the running for Mother of the Year, or offer the kid a ticket and wish her a good trip, but in the first place, I loved Marley, even if she wasn't particularly fond of me, and in the second, we both knew it was a spindly threat. Brenda was too busy being Bambi to bother with a 12-year-old. The bus pulled out, flinging back a biting spray of slush. Cars came and went from the megapumper. Families strolled in and out of Roy's Cafe across the street. Old-fashioned bulb lights edged the windows at Roy's, and maybe it's an indication of my state of mind that I noticed several of them were burnt out. I began to wonder if Dolores had forgotten we were coming. Dolores Sullivan was my dad's only sister, and my sole living blood relative, but she and I weren't exactly close. When she'd called in a panic just a week before and asked if I'd come back to Bent Tree Creek and help her run barrels of carols, I'd reluctantly agreed. My latest dead-end job had just fizzled, and I didn't have another one on the line. Plus, all my friends had either left Southern California or dived into new relationships, leaving me with just acquaintances. So, I was at loose ends in more ways than one. Marley and I had been camping out in a neighbor's guest house while the family was in Europe, but now the Britons were back, with a couple of exchange students in tow, and they needed the space. Meanwhile, back here in the present moment, it was getting colder and darker. I got out my paid-in-advance cell phone, the last vestige of my old life, and struggled to remember Dolores's number. Like I said, we weren't close. The little panel read, "No service." I hope that wasn't a metaphor, an omen for the way things would go between Dolores and me. "We ought to at least move our stuff," Marley said, as the snow began to come down in earnest. "Good idea," I answered, injecting a lot of false cheer into my voice, and moved to pick up one of the big suitcases. I tend to think in allegories, and just then, those Vuitton knockoffs seemed like more than containers for my clothes. They were symbols of my personal baggage. I'd gone to college. I'd fallen in love with a man and built a life, made friends, refined my cooking skills, and sung in a community choir. How could it all have come down to this? The largest of the bags didn't have wheels, and lifting it was out of the question. I was just starting to drag the thing toward the door of the megapumper when a blue van whipped into the lot and came to a stop about 3 feet in front of Marley and me. The window on the driver's side whirred down. A square-jawed man with ebony eyes and dark hair pulled back into a ponytail looked me over pensively. I felt a visceral zap when our gazes connected, and immediately took an inner leap back. Once I'd trusted my instincts, but no more. Craig had cured me of that. I motioned for Marley to stay behind me. "Are you